This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Pros, save more on the materials you need to get the job done inside and out at Lowe's. Right now, get 10% off in-stock Trex Naturals decking, now available in more styles. Plus, get 15% off select custom entry, interior, and storm doors. Then, we'll deliver it all straight to your job site to help keep your jobs moving. Get the brands pros trust, priced right, and ready when you need them. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 5/27. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
Welcome to Modern Mom Probs, where we're trying to solve the world's modern mom problems. And if we can't do that, at least we're having fun talking about them. I'm Tara Clark. Let's go. Hey, Modern Mom crew, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mom Probs. I'm your girl, Tara. Today's topic is loneliness. And if you've been following along, I like to say that loneliness is one of the top 10 modern mom problems we're facing right now. I am joined by Dr. Sylvia. She is a psychologist, speaker, author of the new book, Lonely AF. It explores the modern loneliness epidemic and how we can reconnect in a very disconnected world. We had such a phenomenal conversation. I could hardly put into words the chills that I got listening to her speak, and I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. Dr. Sylvia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's such a gift to be here. I love your podcast, love your content, but most of all, it's your personality and your energy that brings it all together. So thank you for having me on here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad that we're going to be speaking about loneliness. It's one of my not favorite topics to talk about. It's one of the top 10 topics that I include in the modern mom problems. It's something that I speak about a lot when I'm talking about mental health in general. And so we're going to talk about your new book, Lonely AF, and we're going to dive into this lonely epidemic. Yeah, there it is. I have it here. But before we get started, give us just a little top line, who you are, how you got started doing what you do.
Absolutely. So I have a master's in counseling psychology. I'm an LMFT, so that means a licensed marriage and family therapist. That basically means I've been trained to think in systems and patterns. I have a PhD in family therapy. So again, I'm trained to think about context, broadening the context to understand behavior. I've been a therapist now for over 21 years. I've worked in all kinds of settings in hospitals, juvenile correctional centers. I've worked inside the homes of at-risk youth. I've had a private practice. This has been something that I have felt so humbled and privileged to be able to do, to be a therapist. And born and raised in Houston, Texas, but I've lived all over. My parents were born and raised in Poland, so I'm first generation American. And I'm actually now living in Geneva, Switzerland. I miss the US, but I'm also embracing this new adventure. My husband is Swiss. So I still see clients virtually. And now I'm working on my second book. So that's me.
Love that. That is so amazing. I didn't realize that you were in Geneva right now. That is so cool.
Yeah,
oh
I've lived here 3 years now. It was talk about lonely AF. The first year was so hard that I literally, I was like, I'm done. I was going to go back to Miami because also obviously Miami Beach is a stark contrast between Geneva. And I almost went back, but then I didn't. And now I've learned to embrace the Alps and all that Switzerland has to offer. And I'm really happy now.
That makes me so happy. We were in Milano in February for the Olympics, and we took the red train from Milano to St. Moritz and back. And we were in St. Moritz for about 5 minutes. So I could say that we were in Switzerland for about 5 minutes for one afternoon, if that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
the views must have been amazing from the red train.
It was amazing. It was absolutely incredible, but we could chat more about that later. So the loneliness epidemic is huge. It's something that I think that not enough people are talking about it. And obviously here we are talking about it now, but it was deemed by the Surgeon General of the U.S. Surgeon General, as an epidemic.
Yes.
Why do you think that it is? How did we get to this point?
I think we've been here for a long time, but I think if I could really sum it up in one sentence, I think people are embarrassed to talk about it. And the more embarrassed we are to talk about something, the more we keep it a secret. The more we keep it a secret, the more it festers. And we have all of these wonderful avoidant behaviors that help us to try to avoid the pain that comes with loneliness. And I think that shame and embarrassment around even just the word lonely still has stigma. It's often associated with this sense of being a failure, a loser, or something's wrong with you. And that's really what inspired me to write the book, was to start talking about something that we will all go through. It is a part of the human experience. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It is a biological alarm, and it's alert. And tons of research has been done that shows that loneliness to the body, to the psyche, is what hunger and thirst are to the body. Hunger tells you you're thirsty. Hunger tells you you're hungry. Mm-hmm. Thirsty tells you, when you're thirsty, it means like you need water. And so loneliness is an alert that your body is telling you, I need connection. My limbic system, this part of my brain that literally is wired for human connection, it is alerting me, I need this.
I never thought about that as like the biological alert system for that, but that's so true. When I started this account, the Modern Mom Probs Instagram account, my son was 3 years old, and we were living in New York City, which is a city of 8 million people. And I was so lonely. I was staying home with him full time, and every day we would get up and like walk around Central Park, and I would like try to meet some mom friends. And it was a very lonely experience, which is why I created my Instagram account to meet other moms and reach out and try to connect with other people. And luckily I did. And
yes,
I'm so grateful for that. But why or how is early motherhood so lonely and we feel so disconnected?
I think it goes on an emotional level. There is loneliness that is, as we talked about earlier, an alert that says, okay, I need more human connection. But there's also emotional loneliness where your human needs, there's intrinsic human needs, are not being met. The right to be seen, to be heard, to take up space, the right to belong. And I think on a deeper level, your whole identity goes through this major shift in early motherhood. And that can be absolutely overwhelming for a person to process all that. I mean, you've been growing a baby for 9 months, then the baby's here, then you have to take care of the baby. You're exhausted, your hormones all over the place. And if you don't have a built-in support system and you're doing it, most women do it by themselves in the US, you get overwhelmed. But I think on an emotional level, there's so many of your needs that are not being met. And you spend a lot of time isolated because of the schedule of the baby. So all of those things in society that kind of gave you that sense of self, oh, you see me. So for those women that were working before they got pregnant, you go to the office, all these little micro social interactions on the way to the office. Maybe it's the subway, the bus, you're driving. You see the person at the concierge desk, the receptionist. There's all these micro social interactions that give your brain literally feedback that says, hey, you're alive. I see you. I'm smiling at you. And you're like, oh, you're not thinking about it, but you're getting all of these little signals that you see me. I'm alive. I belong to a group. I belong to an office. Maybe you're a barista. I belong to this coffee shop. And when you enter motherhood, especially what they call the fourth trimester, right? That first month at home with the baby, all of that changes. Your microsocial interactions decrease drastically. Your schedule is so different from everyone else. You know, you're waking up really early, maybe not sleeping. Maybe you have more anxiety because of the hormones. And so maybe the way that you're thinking and feeling feels so different from how you used to feel. And so I think all of that compounded leads to this emotional loneliness. Who am I? I know I'm a mother, but I don't even know how I'm supposed to feel. I used to feel this way, but I don't feel that way. Or how are we? Am I the only one thinking this? Am I the only one feeling this? And there's so much shame too. Like I was experiencing a lot of irritability and anger when my son was born because he had colic.
Same.
And I felt so embarrassed, especially as a therapist, like, oh, I should be able to handle my anger and frustration better. And I guess I had this own bias of like, well, I shouldn't even be feeling this anger. I should have done all the healing. I've done all the therapy. Why am I feeling this level of anger? What's wrong with me? So I think, it's just this multi-layered kind of microcosm that you enter that not a lot of people talk about. So thank goodness you have this podcast, because it is helping break the stigma, and it is helping women feel so much less alone. It wasn't until I was on a podcast with another woman who specializes in perinatal health that I even recognized that I had postpartum rage. When she started describing the symptoms, I went, oh my God, but that's what I had. And even before I said that out loud, internally, I'm like, do I say this on a podcast? Do I admit to whoever's listening that me, as this therapist with a PhD in family therapy, had postpartum rage? And I knew at that moment, my integrity and my ethical standpoint was, you need to share this so other people feel less ashamed of this experience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because that also happened to me too with the postpartum rage. I was just getting so irritable, and there was a time where we had hosted, I still can't believe this story. We had hosted Christmas 4 weeks after my son was born, and I had a C-section. And yes, although people like brought dishes over, I still had to clean my house afterwards. And I remember saying to my husband, like, I just can't. I just can't deal with all of this.
Too much.
It was too much. It was too much. And looking back now, I'm almost laughing, like, how did we think that was a good idea? And so, yes, postpartum rage was definitely something that I had to work through. And it obviously, I did, and it was okay. But I don't think that enough people talk about that. And I'm glad that you shared your story on that one.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. And going back to what you were saying about those micro social interactions, when you're home with the baby, you're missing those. Like,
so many.
As you were saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. It's the smiling at the receptionist, like you said. You walk into your desk, you're saying hi to all the people, and now you're home with a baby who obviously they're just becoming a human for the first time, right? So they're just trying to figure out how their hands work and how their mouth works and how their eyes work and all those different things. And you as the mother or the parent have this sort of numbness almost, because you're not getting the social interactions that you need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember when you were talking about feeling lonely in Central Park, I was in Miami Beach, and most of my friends were either in Texas and had children that were older, but any of my friends in Miami Beach, most of them, had not had children yet. So I was the only one. And so I was a member of Soho House, but Soho House is known to be like for the singles, the young, the trendy, cool people. Yes. And I would go to Soho in the morning at 7 a.m. It would be empty, of course. And I'd have a coffee and I would like look at the guys like, good morning. And I just felt like saying, will you be my friend? Will you talk to me? And then I would like sit by the poolside and it was like, I was just like scanning, anyone there? Will anyone talk to me? And then I'd like push my buggy. But even at the playground, because I didn't have a mom squad, I didn't have mom friends. And I just felt like going up to a mom and being like, will you play with me? Will you be my friend? I'm like, I am such a weirdo. I'm so desperate. And I'd see other moms talk, or the nannies had their little group. And I'm like, I didn't fit in. And it was so hard not having a place to land or belong to. And then I'd come home and my husband would come home late from work and, I would just be exhausted. But really what it was is I was lonely and deprived of those microsocial interactions where I could just, feel recognized or seen or have a chat that had nothing to do with poop or diapers or colic or, breastfeeding or any of that stuff.
Yeah, any of that. You just described my experience to a T. Like literally to a T. You may have been in Miami Beach and I was in Manhattan, but as you were saying that, I was nodding because I was like, yes, it's like you said my story better than I could have shared it myself. So thank you.
You're welcome. I still remember there was this one time there I was, in, I think it's called South Point. Yeah. And there was this playground and there was this mom that looked like, oh, she could be a friend. And I almost went up to her. I was like, I can't do this. And then I turned around. Thank God for preschool, because that's when I finally met some moms. But yeah, it was
same thing with me. And then sort of I like seek people. I'm like, I'm going to be her friend. And then I'll march up to her and say, hi, I'm Tara. I don't say like, hey, do you want to be my friend? But obviously I start talking. And there's a certain level of confidence that you need to be able to like muster it up, take a deep breath, walk over to somebody and say, hi, I'm Tara, and just start chatting. Or even before you get to the hi, I'm Tara, just start chatting about things on the playground.
And most people don't have that. Most women don't. It's like public speaking. People would rather die than speak in public. And some people feel that way about introducing themselves to a total stranger.
It's hard, but then that by not doing it, by not introducing yourself, then you get stuck in this cycle of, well, I guess I'm just going to go walk off now with the baby in the stroller and just kind of go be by yourself again.
There literally is something called the loneliness loop, right? So the longer that you don't interact, the more that you are scared to put yourself out there or to enter social engagements, then you develop more ruminations. Your thoughts become more negative. Then the more negative thoughts you think, the more you believe them because it feels real. And then the less motivation you have to put yourself out there. And then you tend to isolate and you just stay in this vicious cycle, which I think the two categories of people that are experiencing the highest amounts of loneliness will be young moms. Moms with young children, right? Doesn't matter what age you are. It's parents with young children and college students.
Students.
First year.
I thought you were going to say retirees.
Our Z generation, anyone now between the ages of like 16 and 23 are the loneliest demographic. They're above parents with young children. Because my hypothesis is, let's go back to those microsocial interactions and what our limbic system needs. During COVID and the pandemic, many kids around that age, around like 12, 13, 14, 15, but that whole like social adolescence got interrupted because they had to quarantine. They couldn't go out. And so their brain didn't get to be formed in like what kind of nature was designed to do. And so they experienced increased amounts of anxiety and a lot of things that they were hoping for would happen, especially seniors. During the COVID, pandemic, anyone that was supposed to graduate that year where their graduation was canceled, or maybe they were supposed to go to a certain college, but their parents said, no, we can't afford it now. You need to stay back. That's the group that's now around, I would say 25, 26. I saw the highest amount of anxiety and depression. Because when their dreams were in a quote unquote taken away from them, or they couldn't reach these really important milestones that they'd spent years working towards. And then on top of that, their social interaction was cut in half or next to zero if you were living in certain areas that were really strict. Then without those microsocial interactions, anxiety increases and not having your peer-to-peer socialization, that's intense. And then there's already, certain tensions within family, homes and being kept, quarantined for that long. I think those are some of the contributing factors to the anxiety that a lot of these college students experience their first year. But even now, post-pandemic, we're still seeing a lot of these college students, their first year, feel really lonely because they're questioning, where do I belong? Do you see me? There's so many people on this campus. Nobody recognizes me. Nobody knows my name. You're sitting in a class, usually because you're freshman year. They're, large classrooms. And so it's going back to that identity. It's really overwhelming. Who am I? Nobody knows me. I don't know where I belong. And having to figure it out that first year, it's a lot.
It is a lot. I remember feeling like that freshman year of college. And again, that was like 20 something years ago now. Gosh, I don't even, I'm like, when did I even go to school? It was like 25 years ago. I had to think about that. I was like, gosh, 25 years ago. No, we were like just getting the internet at that point. I remember feeling like that freshman year. But what's interesting, going back to what you were saying about post-pandemic, I was just chatting with a friend of mine who is also a therapist, and she was telling me a story about her cousins who had just graduated college. Now, in the New York City area, there's a town called Hoboken, which is just opposite the Hudson River across from New York City. It tends to be a very big party town / city where a lot of the college graduates move and then work in the city and live in New Jersey and sort of go to the bars and hang out. It's almost like a rite of passage for some people. Yeah. And what she was saying, is the story that she was sharing, is that her cousins moved there because they thought that was like what they were supposed to do. That was like the rite of passage for them. And they didn't want to go out. They had no desire to go and meet people out at the restaurants and out at the bars, which is sort of what that town is for, right? Yeah. And it was an interesting perspective of their generation so they moved there. They had no intention of going out and meeting people. Then they said, what are we paying this extraordinarily high rent for? And then they moved back home with their parents. And the story, I think, is particularly special for this generation post-pandemic, that they really had no, not initiative, but no desire to go out and like hang out in groups and go party and stuff like that. I just thought that was really interesting when she was sharing that story.
Definitely. Super
they would rather just stay home and just hang out and be like, what are you going to do this weekend? Oh, I'm just going to hang out at home.
Yeah.
And
but that's how their brain got conditioned, because during that, pandemic, that's what we did. We stayed home. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of like your safety net. So if there's stress or anxiety or something that's like unfamiliar, I'll just go back to what I know. And that's what I often share with my clients. Our brain, our nervous system is wired to default to what is most familiar. And some of us will choose a familiar hell before we are ready to introduce a new heaven. And I think let's go back to social anxiety and loneliness, especially for moms with young children. If it feels really unfamiliar to put yourself out there and to introduce yourself, to others, or stay a little bit later after preschool pickup just to, chat with someone, you will revert back to that comfort of, I'll just be by myself and feel lonely because I've been feeling this way for so long. I'll revert back to that familiar hell before I introduce a new heaven to myself.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I appreciate that. I've heard many times from other mom friends who say they would rather be by themselves than have to meet new people that they may not like. And I think that's interesting too.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I think also not having my mom squad and not really having any mom friends was kind of another inspiration to write the book. I actually wanted to write a book about negative self-talk, and I had it titled Hey Ugly. And I thought it was I was like, oh, it's a great acronym. You got to love yourself. Because how many women, right, have looked in the mirror and you're like, oh, I look so ugly. I feel so ugly. And we get into that negative self-talk, even men too, and non-gender, people, like we can have this negative self-talk. And my book coach, Rochelle Preston, she was like, I don't know about that title. And another woman said, I probably would have picked that book up in Barnes & Noble. I went, well, what else would I write about? And I thought, well, it was during the pandemic. And I said, well, I've been feeling lonely AF, yes. But I also realized I didn't have that many mom friends. And I said, well, if I'm going to write this book, I need to hold myself accountable and put myself out there and choose new behaviors. If I keep doing the same damn thing over and over again, I'm busy, I'm going home, I'll stay at home. It's just my husband and my son. I'm going to get the same result, which is lonely AF. And so I had signed up for the PTA, which I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But it was a way to meet new moms.
It is, yeah.
And there were some moms that, no, I didn't gel with, and some other moms that I did. But it really was myself holding myself accountable. I can stay stuck in loneliness, and this becomes a part of my familiar hell. Or what is my preferred story? I want to have mom friends. I want to have a mom squad. I don't want to complain and watch Instagram and feel left out and be filled with all this negative self-talk. So I just took little micro steps, joined the PTA, started meeting moms for coffee. Then what really helped me was finding something that I really loved and created a shared experience with new moms. So at the time I loved yoga. I still love yoga. I'd ask a couple moms, would you like to go to a yoga class with me? Yes, great. Then I love Halloween, especially Miami Beach. It was like, okay, let me get involved in this pumpkin party thing. But I think what a lot of women don't talk about, and maybe I'm just a little niche, any women that have had like a negative relationship with a stepmom or a mother or some kind of female figure where they feel that their trust was broken or they felt betrayed or criticized. I think that's another thing that contributes to loneliness in motherhood, is because you're like, well, I don't trust women, right? Women can be catty, or I don't want to put myself out there, or, these mom squads can be so judgmental or fake or whatever. I don't have the time for that. Yes, those circles exist, but there's also circles that are different. That there's circles of moms that like to have deep conversations, or circles of moms that are athletic and, want to do these crazy triathlons. I don't mean to judge crazy, but whatever, triathlon. But I guess my point is that, I think it's really important to take accountability what are some of the other invisible wounds or factors that are contributing to my loneliness? Mine was I had 3 different stepmoms that were really mean and critical. And I was still carrying what we call as therapists or analysts is like the feminine wound or the mother wound. And my internalization of that problem was like, well, if my mother died when I was young and my stepmothers were mean, I can't trust women. Women are not there for you. And I projected that pain point on moms.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now it's the final days of our Everything's on Sale event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses. Our Memorial Day event ends Monday. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
That contributed to my loneliness is I looked at other moms at the time my son was in kindergarten as if they were all perfect. I created this delusional idea that all the moms were doing it right, that they were perfect, that they were organized, they had all their shit together, they knew what they were doing. I didn't. And I felt this overwhelming sense of insecurity. So I was just like, well, I work. Hi. Like, that's the only thing of like badge of like identity. I was like, well, at least I work. I can do that right. And that was keeping me away from engaging with other women. And so that next year when my son entered first grade, that's where I said, Sylvia, you need to hold yourself accountable for your pain points. Yes, you're afraid of women. Yes, you're still carrying abandonment issues. Yes, you're projecting your mother wound on other people. And yes, you're pretty lonely. So either you're going to stay there or you're going to take these baby steps to create a preferred narrative. It's not easy, but I think it's important just to mention those other factors that kind of contribute to loneliness in an invisible way.
Yeah, no, that resonates so deeply. So yes, I thank you for sharing that, because I think not only do I resonate with that on a personal level, I think many of the listeners will as well. And you expertly wove your framework into that story. I don't know if you did that intentionally or if you... or if that just happened coincidentally. Yes, the heart method. As you were saying that, I was like, she's hitting all of the points of the heart method.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Would you like to share more about that? Because I was like, man, She is expertly weaving that through.
Product placement. No, I wasn't aware of that. Thank you. Okay, so the heart method, it stands for it's an acronym, HEART. H is honor the emotions. Most of us minimize, dismiss, ignore our own emotions. That was modeled to us by the older generations. We don't want to blame the older generations. In context, that's how they survived, and that's what they thought was best to teach us, as my father would say is in his Polish accent, be strong. You need to be strong, don't cry, work hard, and to make money. He still doesn't understand my profession. He's like, I don't understand. You work for free. You spend all this money for masters, and now you work 3 years for no money? Don't understand. Because as a therapist, when you're getting your licensure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Only recently did my mother realize what I did. And that's only because I hosted a wellness retreat and then she attended and she was like, well, I understand what you do now. And I interviewed my friend, Dr. Rachel. And
yes, I love Dr. Rachel.
I love Dr. Rachel too. She's fantastic. And when I interviewed Dr. Rachel, my mom said, oh, I get it. I understand what mental health is now. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my dad used to say, you don't need therapist, just be strong. Just to be as if that was going to fix it. So
that was going to fix everything.
Yeah, I'm laughing about this because I think a lot of people can understand how difficult it might have been growing up where it wasn't modeled to name, I feel vulnerable, I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel jealous. So H is honor the emotion. And I don't take it lightly that it's difficult for many people to even name it. So if you're not able to name the emotion, maybe it's just honoring what you're, I guess, sensing in your body. Like I had a client earlier today. She said, I feel a knot in my stomach. She wasn't able to name the emotion, but she was able to acknowledge the sensation of a knot. So honor the emotion if you can. Give it a name. This is sadness. This is anger. This is jealousy. That was the hardest part about postpartum rage is I didn't want to name that I was feeling angry. Okay, so that's honor the emotion. E, explore your family system. One of the best tools that I have discovered in my PhD program was a geniogram that was created by Murray Bowen. He is one of the theorist of family therapy, and he believed a family is an emotional ecosystem. And anxiety is something that we all feel as humans, especially in family units, because anxiety is what gives us information for survival. So if something important to us is at risk, we're going to feel that anxiety. But in an emotional unit, when things start to get threatened or maybe there's change, we experience anxiety because we have that root kind of wiring that we need to stay together as a family unit to survive. So explore your family system through a geniogram. What does that mean? That basically means create a map, like a family tree of 3 generations back. You, your parents, your grandparents. If you're adopted, use your adopted family, whatever information that you have. If you were raised in a foster system, you put that information, but you want to broaden the context and really look at the system that you were born into and that you were raised in to understand what also contributed to some of your conditioning, your beliefs, your nervous system. So that's the explore your family system. A is acknowledge your pain points. We all have them. Those are those core vulnerabilities. Just like the word says, those are those painful points, what I like to refer them as invisible wounds that we all carry. They're the insecurities that we develop from these defining moments. One of my deepest insecurities and pain points is I'm not important. You don't want me. You don't care about me. My mom died when I was young. I internalized that grief. My father moved away to Kazakhstan when I was 15. I lived alone my junior and senior year. And I internalized that as you didn't want me. You chose to be with your new wife. You left me. I wasn't important enough. And so those are my pain points, which I still to this day, no matter how much therapy I have, I project it onto my poor husband. But what's helped is when I notice I start to pick a fight with my husband, I pause and I say, own your pain point, Sylvia. It's not feeling important and you're picking at him because you want connection. And so if I own it, it reduces that intensity. R is rewrite your narrative. We've all created some kind of narrative based on a pain point. My pain point is abandonment. That's the essence of my pain point. The narrative, the problematic narrative that I connected to it was, you don't want me. Is that my preferred story? Is that how I want to live the world or live in this world? No, but it's how I react to that pain point. And so rewrite the narrative is an opportunity for you to ask yourself, what is your preferred story? Or just what's the contrast? As a lot of people say, well, I don't know what I want. Okay, well, what's the opposite? Or what would life look like if this pain point didn't exist? So at least that gives you a little bit of contrast. My preferred narrative is I'm wanted. You do care about me. And then T is turn within. Turn within and discover the tools to regulate your nervous system, because that's where true connection happens. We cannot begin the healing process if we are disassociated, if we don't feel that we can even be in our body. It's really hard. You can intellectualize the healing process, but to truly, what I would say is apply the healing and to integrate the healing, it requires nervous system regulation. And for anyone who's experienced trauma, big T trauma or little trauma, it can feel really scary sometimes to be in your body. So it's very simple somatic skills, like, for example, just looking around your room now and noticing 3 colors. Doesn't even require the breathing. I know a lot of people are like, oh, don't make me breathe again. Noticing 3 colors, right? Or noticing 3 sounds forces your prefrontal cortex to come online, which automatically regulates your emotions, but it brings you into the present moment. So you're embodied to notice those 3 colors and those 3 sounds. And just for that split second, you've hijacked the brain, you've helped the amygdala not be in that fight or flight, and you've turned within. So that's the heart method. And I think anyone can use that for loneliness and motherhood. They can use that for loneliness and grief. You can use that just when you're going through a difficult time. Maybe you feel a little bit lost or overwhelmed. And if you don't do the whole thing, just pick one of the letters, like H. Okay, I'm just going to honor this feeling of frustration right now. And one of my best and most effective setup statements that I try to teach all of my clients and try to use myself is this: it makes sense that I feel blank given everything that's happened. it makes sense that I feel angry right now, given everything that's happened. And when you can self-validate, you don't have to justify it. You don't have to explain. Just makes sense. Yeah, that's how I'm going to honor it. Makes sense that I feel angry right now and everything that I went through.
Oh, Sylvia, I literally have chills. I have chills. No, it's true. I'm going to steal that one, put it in my pocket. I'm tucking it in my pocket right now. So I have
share it
that.
with others.
That was so powerful. It makes sense that I'm angry given everything that I've gone through. That is so powerful. And I know that that's going to resonate with so many mothers listening right now. It's just, I literally have chills. I know a lot of moms that I've spoken with have said that they feel lonely despite being in a house full of people, full of children, their partner, maybe extended family as well. What do you say to those women who feel lonely and disconnected from the rest of their families?
I would use the same statement. It makes absolute sense that you feel lonely and disconnected, even in a house full of people, given everything that you've been through or given everything that you're doing. I think the other thing, with that mental, as we call it, the overload and your bandwidth, you sometimes just don't have the bandwidth, and you've got all these people, but you're so disconnected from yourself because as a caregiver, you're prioritizing other people's needs. You're seeing other people's needs and wants. And there's so much invisible domestic labor that goes unseen. And I think that tends to kind of like wear at you after a while. You're like, there's so much I'm doing that goes unseen. But I think just to validate, like, it makes sense that I would feel disconnected given everything that I do that goes unseen in this household.
Yeah, that is so powerful. I love that. I love that so much. I really do. Go ahead.
I forgot to add one of my biggest reframes. Loneliness is an invitation to get to know yourself on a deeper level. So if you are in that home and you have a full house and you have everything you could ever want and you still feel lonely, imagine this is a special invitation in a golden seal that has just been delivered. It's got your name on it. And it's saying, open me. This is an invitation to get to know yourself on a deeper level. There's parts of your soul that you have not explored or connected to because you've been so busy taking care of others. Or maybe just where you've been in your life, you just haven't had the context or the environment or the setting to discover parts of you that are just waiting to be seen. So if you can, instead of being scared of loneliness or embarrassed, I can't believe I would still feel lonely even in a house full of people. And even with everything I have so much to be grateful for. Why do I still feel lonely? Or how dare I still feel lonely? Instead of that, say, what if this is an invitation? What if this is an invitation to actually discover parts of myself that I just haven't had the time or space? So talk to the loneliness, show me parts of myself that I don't know. Or talk to loneliness, I'm scared. I'm scared of you. I don't like feeling you. So if there's something that you want me to know, if there's something that you want to help me see, show me or tell me. And then open up a journal or a notebook or spiral, legal pad or something, and just do some active imagination. If loneliness was trying to tell me something, what is it trying to tell me? If loneliness was trying to help me connect to something that I don't know how to, what would that be? And just let whatever ideas, free association, try not to judge it, just write it out, and you'll be amazed what will come out on that paper. And if nothing comes out, that's okay. All right. We'll come back to you later. But the reframe of loneliness as an invitation to get to know yourself on a deeper level, to connect to yourself, and potentially what I hope for all of us is a homecoming to return to self, a self that you may not have ever really experienced yet. I'm 47 this year. I think it's honestly the first time that I'm discovering like who I really am and like being in my body and feeling like this homecoming. And I'm like, oh, if you don't like me, it's uncomfortable that you don't like me, but it's okay. You don't have to like me and I don't have to people please. Or I can do this silly, funny thing and it might make you weird, but I love it. And I don't have to placate or accommodate you. And these are the things I like. And I've been a chameleon my whole life. So writing this book and doing this heart method towards the end, I'm like, oh, is this what it means? When people say just be yourself, like, is this who I am? Like, it was a process to get here. And so I just encourage anyone, whatever phase of life you're in right now, especially if you're in that home full of people and feeling disconnected, welcome to one of the most sacred, underappreciated parties. It's going to be a wild ride, but I promise you, you're going to meet parts of yourself that you never knew existed. Some might scare you, some might make you laugh, but it's worth it. Open the invitation. Sylvia, it's so good. Open the invitation.
Oh, I love that. I think being in our 40s definitely helps with that, like letting go of people pleasing and just really owning who you are, falling into yourself in the best way possible. And I think my hope is that everyone can get to that point at some point in their life.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Oh man, I want to just jump through this computer and give you the biggest hug you have known. I'm like almost in tears. Literally, I'm like I don't even have tissues
my
over
flight
here.
to New York. I'm meeting you in Central Park.
You better.
We're gonna reframe that.
Yeah.
We're gonna reframe that.
Go to Switzerland.
Yeah, please come to Geneva. No, I was gonna say we're gonna have a corrective emotional experience. We're gonna go to Central Park. We're gonna feel connected. We're gonna have our little cup of coffee. We're gonna laugh. We're gonna say, look at us. Look at us.
Look at us. We're doing it. We're doing the thing. I love that. We'll let the boys play in the playgrounds. They're big now, double digits.
Let them run. Yes.
Let them run. We're going to do that. I'm manifesting that for us unequivocally. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests, and I'm curious to see what you're going to say. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem today?
Thinking that you can do it all. Thinking that you can do it all and expecting that you're going to do it all by yourself. We were not wired to do all the things that the social media platforms are telling us that we need to do. It's too much for one person. It's way too much. And I think maybe the other part is as I'm looking at this little sticky note that I have, maybe it's being embarrassed of our own emotions, but the particular one's anger. Like, I'm not supposed to feel angry. I'm not a good mom if I feel angry. I just wanted to say 1 in 3 mothers experience strong anger or irritability in the beginning of motherhood, or let's say all of motherhood. Like, let's embrace anger and reframe it as a boundary maker. When I'm feeling angry, that might be an alert system for me that one of my boundaries or one of my needs is not being met, or I'm not vocalizing. So I think the idea of I can do it all, and the other problem is I'm not speaking up for what I actually need. I'm not saying no when I need to say no. I'm not communicating to others because I don't even know what I need. I don't even know how to even name my own emotion. So let's go back to that honor and just say, it makes sense that I feel whatever it is. I feel blank given everything that I've been through. So start there, self-validate. You're doing an amazing job. You weren't meant to do it all. That's just marketing. That's just designed for us to buy more products.
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. Dr. Sylvia, you are incredible. Tell everyone where we could follow you, where we could buy this beautiful book, Lonely AF. I read it. I highly recommend it. I'm going to start giving it to friends of mine. I'm going to give it to my mother. I'm going to give it to all the people.
You got to check out the workbook too, because it's got like really great journal prompts. Like I'll read 2 because I love these. These are reflection questions. What part of your childhood felt emotionally lonely or unseen? And can you name a moment where you wished someone had noticed your pain? So this is a great book to like really go deeper. So if you want to work with the workbook, you can buy it wherever books, everywhere and anywhere books are sold. And you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Sylvia K. That's spelled DrSylvia, the letter K. If you want to go to my website, you can join my newsletter and get more information. I try to add more tidbits from the book, and I offer more tools. That's www.drsylviak.com. And I also have a podcast, which I would love for you to come on, Tara. It's the Dr. Sylvia K Show. Yeah.
I would love to.
Let's do it.
I am there 100%. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you. The chills that I have on my arms, the tears that I have in my eyes just goes to show like how important the work you do is and how much I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Felt like a warm hug. I needed it.
Did. Me too. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you can head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now it's the final days of our Everything's on Sale event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses. Our Memorial Day event ends Monday. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.